Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So this week, Bitcoin had some major potential to break out of the 2025 yearly downtrend, but unfortunately failed. On the high time frame charts, it looks like the price is going to continue downwards back towards 78,000 and possibly even lower. We're going to dive into the charts today to talk about all the recent price action and everything you need to watch out for in terms of the next leg downwards, and otherwise what's going to signal a major reversal for Bitcoin in the long term. Before we dive in, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday and Saturday, and join my free Telegram for more regular updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details by messaging me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so diving into the charts, let's talk about the recent price action developing on the daily time frame and what it means. So if we take a look at this recent week, we can see it has been a really important one. It was the week immediately following this massive sort of deviation high that we developed at the end of last week when Trump announced the crypto reserve. So do you remember the ADA, Bitcoin, Solana reserve situation? All those coins really pumped, including Bitcoin obviously, and we saw that sort of really bullish weekly candle close where we went back within our weekly chart range. Let me just delete the daily chart one for a sec so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This range over here and that insane candle printed. So this week, following that, we had sort of this really interesting opportunity where Bitcoin had the chance to flip the charts to being bullish. And our key validations were the reclamation of this level over here. So 91,000 to 92.5 thousand, essentially the base of our prior daily chart range, and of course the breakout from our yearly downtrend, this downtrend that we have had developing throughout the entirety of 2025, these consistent lower highs on the price action. Now, unfortunately, Bitcoin failed to do that. We can see we rallied right up to retest that horizontal level of resistance, and we've seen a rejection since, right? And so what this essentially paints out to us is that we've had a structure, our prior bullish sort of structure, horizontal channel structure. We broke down from that structure after repetitive retests of support and eventual absorption of that support, had our first leg downwards to 78,000, and then we saw a reversal, an artificial reversal from news, a deviation high. But even in that deviation, we weren't able to push past the very first change of character level on this chart, being this sort of prior high here from 95 to 99,000. We weren't able to push past that. And then because of that, we had a continued leg downwards and then a proper retest and then rejection of that structure, thereby confirming the breakdown, and that on the daily charts it looks like we are headed in for a continued leg downwards. And if we take a look at the recent crypto news that's been circulating in the space in the last week as well, we also had some pretty interesting developments and opportunities as well for the price action to see a reversal. So first of all, yesterday we had Trump's crypto summit. So that was the first crypto summit that's ever been held in the White House. And it essentially ended up being just a complete non-event. Nothing really new happened. We didn't receive any new information. And it was just really him announcing the crypto reserves and getting that signed off, which we already kind of knew was happening. So that's already been priced in to the market, and so we continue to see that tumble throughout yesterday despite what should have been a bullish event. And then last night as well, we had NFP data. So NFP is actually kind of interesting. So non-farm payrolls came out higher than expected, so there are more jobs happening than expected, which is kind of bearish for the asset market if we're kind of waiting for a weakening job market to signal interest rate reversals or cuts, right? So that is bearish. But unemployment rate, interestingly, is also increasing. So that maybe paints a picture. I don't know, maybe an economist would be better suited to understand that. But I looked at that and I was like, that's interesting. But potentially that just means that more jobs are being created and being taken up, but they're by the same people. So more and more people are working two jobs, which honestly isn't really surprising in this economy. That's just how life is nowadays. But yeah, so that overall still paints a relatively bearish picture because jobs are still being printed. Non-farm payrolls is one of the, I guess, more conclusive indications towards the, I guess, job economy and how that's going and whether or not we're going to see a rate cut as a result of a weakening job market, which isn't happening. But essentially, you know, all that sort of news that's been happening over the week and this price action developing isn't painting a very good picture, right? None of it's supporting the notion that Bitcoin has a chance to reverse here. And so let's talk about where we could go next. So naturally, we can see here, we've got these sort of high lows printed on the charts. So if we're going to see a continued bearish descent, the very first thing that will signal that on these high time frame charts is a loss of our 200 EMA, right? And then that first prior low at 84,000. Below that, we have 81,000 and then 78,000. And if we take a look at 78,000 with confluence in our VRPV, we can see there is that volume gap sitting right below it, where in the next test of 78, it's quite likely we enter that volume gap, with the base of it being $76.5 thousand, right? That's the first sort of low target that we have here in falling below $78,000. And then of course below that, we have this absolutely massive level of support sitting at $72,000 to $74,000. You guys will remember that level pretty well if you were in the markets last year. We were hitting that level very consistently and around that for a very long time, right? So a very huge level of resistance should coincidentally act as a really massive base of support on that retest as well. And of course, falling below that, the top is very likely in for Bitcoin as we go on to sort of consolidate back within that sort of range there between 72 and potentially low as $53,000. Again, that is like really far away though. Let's just see how the price action develops. But we know that looking at this daily time frame, it is more likely that Bitcoin continues to retrace those lower lows in 78,000 and potentially 76,000 before, you know, the likelihood of a reversal kind of develops. So with all that in mind, let's dive into the short time frame as well, because we need to talk about what's going to trigger that immediate move downwards on the short time frame. We have a very interesting sort of structure developing this. Let's head over to the hourly chart. Now on the smaller time frames, we can see the higher lows developed on the charts ever since our retest of 78,000, and that has been, I guess, painting out our weekly uptrend over here, right? We've been in this uptrend since the 28th of February when we tapped 78. And what this essentially shows us is that ever since that sort of retest, we've seen a massive development of accumulation and, I guess, buyers stepping in to defend these lower levels of support. And we're developing these higher lows against the higher time frame lower highs that we have on the daily chart, right? And this on the short time frame is one of the final structures that we have potentially marking a reversal here for Bitcoin. If we have about a week left, I think, until the uptrend meets resistance at $81,000, and within this sort of next 5 to 7 day period, if Bitcoin retains movement above our short time frame uptrend over here, there is a potential for us to actually push above that first of all, structural resistance at the downtrend, horizontal resistance at the base of our daily chart range, 91,000 to 92.5 thousand, and upon pushing past those change of character levels, right, 94,000, these prior highs on the daily chart, 95,000, and so on and so forth. You guys remember those levels? That is when these short time frame charts and the daily charts will start to flip bullish. And potentially a way that might develop and manifest over the next couple of days, if we retain our uptrend, is the formation of an ascending triangle, right? We have uptrending price action against a horizontal level of resistance, eventually with repetitive retests of that upper range of resistance and higher highs developing on the charts, showing strength from the buyers. That is eventually, or should eventually, lead to an absorption of this sell wall here and a push upwards, right? And that is the short time frame trigger for a reversal. Now on the flip side, if we end up losing our short time frame uptrend here, meaning the loss of the structure as well as these prior lows at $85,000, that is going to result in lower highs printing on the short time frame charts, and that's going to signal that next leg downwards that we're sort of really concerned about on the daily time frame. And one thing that's really important is if we actually zoom back out to the daily chart and we take a look, I've got some drawings there. If we take a look at the 200 EMA, it has perfect confluence with those prior highs on the short time frame price action. So really sort of tying together that analysis that if we lose that uptrend on the short time frame charts, it's likely then that Bitcoin continues that leg downwards. So 81,000, 78, 76, and so on and so forth. Now, what's important to note here as well is support until it's not. So while these high time frame charts look quite bearish, until we lose the 200 EMA and until we lose that short time frame uptrend and those corresponding prior low levels of support, the overall charts are kind of hinging in a quite neutral territory where we're consolidating and figuring out whether the buyers either have the strength to push that upwards or eventually exhaust and we lose those levels. One last bit of support to note as well is on the 3-day time frame. And if we go there and take a look at the Gaussian channel, we can see that for the last 2 weeks of price action, Bitcoin has actually been hovering just above the midline of the Gaussian channel as a base of support. And that is really, really important because in prior tops and the start of the bear market, generally what we see is a loss of the 50 MA and fall into the Gaussian channel. So we've already seen that. But also we get latent confirmation where we fall below the midline, reject off it as resistance, right? And that leads to that aggressive continued high time frame bearish descent. So the fact that we're holding the midline as a base of support right now is a really good sign, right? And again, is sort of one of those barriers that we have preventing the start and entry and continuance actually of the bearish descent for Bitcoin. Alrighty guys, that is a wrap on the analysis today. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. If you guys liked the video or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And join my free Telegram channel for more regular updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in my VIP channel, don't forget to contact me on Telegram for more details. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!